Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We have 4 new decks for you. Well, we have 6 new decks, 4 full deck guides, and 2 extra weekend mission decks, along with, I'm pretty sure, the best home for War Machine right now. And we are about to enter a War Machine meta, which should shake everything up an awful lot. But we're going to begin with Woody's Stinky Smooth list. Woody is one of the best players in the game. Basically every season in the top 5 of the Infinite Leaderboard, won the SnapCon tournament, and he has brought back Silky Smooth as a toxic deck. Who da thunk it? But this is an extremely cool list. Longtime viewers will know I'm a very big Silky Smooth fan. I'm a very big Ajax Hazmat fan, and slamming the two together is a really, really great deck. This puts out way more power than it seems. It's really fairly reliably goes around opposing tech. Beautiful deck. You can find Woody streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/YoWoodyMJ, playing totally original decks that often end up in the meta. You need Ajax, Man-Thing, US Agent, and Silk for this list. Yes, you actually need Silk for this list because you're trying to abuse having a 1/6 and Silk, and the only real place Silk still goes is if Miles Morales is in the deck. This is about as good as Hide Your Bob gets, but Bob and Sable, I can't spell. Bob and Sable can be Nightcrawler and Iceman without losing too much. Nightcrawler gives you what you're using Bob for, it's just has significantly less power. And then Valentina is good, but not terribly important here. That could be White Widow or Cable. Valentina is here basically because you happen to have Luke Cage, and then, you just get a 6 for 4 at that point. Why not take the chance that you get something that wins you the game? This is a top 5 deck. Again, Woody is in the top 5, as he always is, playing this list an awful lot and succeeding with it. Also, thanks to Big Baby for the heads up on how good this was. I've really enjoyed playing it. The little bit I had the time to. Turn 1, you play Silver Sable over Bob as a general rule. Turn 2, you have Silk if Miles, and that's better than Valentina, better than US Agent. US Agent is a card you can play early, but you prefer to play late, so you can try and get more than 4/7 value out of it. If you can, out of more than 2/7 value. If you can make that a 2/11, you're way ahead. Turn 3, Spidey if you know you're going to go 3-1 next turn, with Miles being that one. If not, Luke or Cosmo are better. Fair warning about Luke. Luke helps you go wide, not tall, because Ajax gets bigger than anything if you don't play Luke, usually. But sometimes you'd rather go wide than tall, right? You have to learn to read when that's going to happen. The other thing you can do is you can drop Cosmo, so then you can drop Ajax on that, and then Ajax can get as big as he wants without having to worry about tech. Turn 4, you would very much like to play Man-Thing as a general rule. Miles into 3 are fine, and of course the Valentina card can fit anywhere depending on what it is. Turn 5, Ajax if it's under 10, or you can play it on Cosmo. If not, you're going to go Hazmat, US Agent, and 1. This is a good time for the other of Sable Bob. And then turn 6, Ajax or Hazmat. Ajax if you didn't play Ajax with 1, again, usually the hood, or Hazmat, Cosmo, and a 1. And at that point, you win. This list puts out an absolute ton of power. It's really great. Right after this next little bit, we're going to talk about the thumbnail deck. That would be the War Machine deck, but do not sleep on this list. It is both interesting to play, extremely powerful, and something that can get you to the top of the meta, whether that for you means infinite or climbing the infinite leaderboard or even conquest. This list is legit. It combines fundamentally two different completely different decks, two different very powerful decks into one, and it works way better than it has any right to. Please hit that sub button if you're so willing. Right below me is that red sub button. We're trying to hit 15,000 by the end of the year. We'd really appreciate your support to get there. We can't get there without you. We do 7 days a week of videos. Included in those 7 days a week of videos are at least 3 brand new decks. And we do 4 almost every day. As far as brand new decks, you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you want the best decks the fastest, this is where you look. And we also are giving away a season pass this week and every week, and then the beginning of the season, 5 season passes. All you have to do is be subbed. At some point in this video, I ask you a question. You answer that question, and in answering, you are entered to win the season pass as long as you're subbed. So if you're still looking for that Symbiote Spider-Man, or you're looking for the next season pass card as that comes up, please hit that sub button and keep an eye out, and you'll have many chances to win. All right, this is the W War Machine list. This is in my opinion, the best War Machine list. It doesn't bother with the Legion thing because the Legion thing has no real snap equity. You get the snap equity of the Legion BS with this because if your opponent thinks you have the Legion combo, they should probably run, right? If you go Storm, War Machine, Legion, Storm, War Machine, they have to respect the Legion, and as they have to respect the Legion, as long as you snapped, if they can't beat that, they have to run. And if they can beat that, they're going to do something silly to try and beat that, and then you just beat them because you're not trying to do that combo anymore. I think this is, again, like completely insane. I just had safety on the podcast. It's Thursday, so we're recording this super late, as often is the case on Thursday, which means that we record the podcast right before, and the Great Safety Blade, brilliant deck builder, was like, oh man, I haven't tried She-Hulk in mine. She-Hulk seems really smart. Yeah, if you've got Hope and Infinite on the list, you should also have She-Hulk, because as powerful as War Machine is, and at 4/7, War Machine is sincerely overstated, you're not going to see him every game, and when you don't, you need other game plans, and Hope into card on Hope on turn 4, into pass on turn 5, and then Doom and She-Hulk or Infinite and She-Hulk is game winning. Also, if you can make one of those cards on 4 be Psylocke, you also get Ebony. Well, no, I guess unless you had War Machine, you don't get Ebony Maw. If you can play War Machine on Hope Summers, you get an extra Ebony Maw on the deal. So you can find W at twitter.com/W_MarvelSnap. He doesn't really stream anymore, but he is one of the best and most important deck builders in the history of the game, creating an absolute ton of meta decks. I can list them for you if you want. Let me know in the comments. War Machine and Hope are your only needed high series cards. I think the coolest thing about the War Machine buff is it's created another cheap competitive deck for players to use. War Machine does not require a lot of other high series cards to compete. You may want Legion, but you don't need Legion. I think the only card you really need is Hope. Excuse me. Nebula for this list can be Iceman. Nebula is better, but Iceman's fine. Sunspot's incredible here too, because you often pass for She-Hulk. We're going to go card by card. So Sunspot is here because if you miss that extra War Machine play, you're often passing on turn 5, and if you're passing on turn 5, you get 5 extra energy from Sunspot. 6 extra energy, technically, if you've played Hope. Also, Hope just generates extra energy, as does Psylocke, and that's all just extra little bits of ways to feed Sunspot. Extra power is good, and that's what Sunspot is in this list. Nebula is great, particularly with Storm. Nebula, with a Storm on 3, will usually be at least a 1/5. That's got a reasonable chance of winning a game, even with that War Machine. That plus Doom on a Storm lane is going to be very, very strong. It is also really great if you can get it early on locations that are hard to reach or limit opponents. Finally, it's very good under Goose in most circumstances, unless your opponent's running something very low to the ground like Bounce, and there's a lot of hell in the meta that can't really get into a Goose lane. That Nebula gets quite big. Ebony Maw is here exclusively, or almost exclusively, as a War Machine card. That is, however, the only card in the deck that is only a War Machine card. Excuse me again. You can play Infinite. It's been a very long day. I had union meetings all day and then parent-teacher night. For my son, not for me. So you can play Ebony Maw exclusively at the end of the game. Hope Summers often gives you an extra energy at the end of the game, and 7 power for that extra energy is through-the-roof power, and it's enough to take a dead slot in other games. Goose is a card that you can get a reasonable amount of power under, particularly with Nebula and Sunspot, but more than that, Goose's other power here is that Doom can get under Goose, She-Hulk can get under Goose, and War Machine can let anything go under Goose. Those combinations lead to Goose as a super strong card in this list. Goose is a card that a lot of people are cutting from these lists, but if the meta continues to evolve the way it is, a Storm lane and then a Goose lane will really, really harm opponents. Psylocke is a play on, usually in this deck, turn 4, but as a turn 4 play, it allows you to create a bunch of combos in much the same way Hope Summers does, and thus is an incredibly powerful card. And due to its 2/2 power, that extra energy it creates, due to its 2/2 cost, the extra energy you don't spend on her often ends up getting fed into Sunspot, which just works out really well. This list has the ability to play an Infinite or She-Hulk early. If it does end up playing an Infinite or She-Hulk early, or the 1-drops, Armor gives you some protection from opposing removal. Armor also gives you some extra location protection and other such nonsense. Armor just ends up being a very, very good card at solving a lot of problems for you. Armor is also a cube stealer, as if you play a turn 5 Infinite, after you go Hope War Machine, for example, if you can go Armor, Ebony Maw, and then another card, you're probably going to end up winning the game. That still leaves you 3 energy, which is just silly, silly, silly nonsense. Storm is here because Storm is really great with War Machine. Your opponent cannot play in that game after turn 4, and you can, which means you should be able to figure out how to win that Storm lane. You don't have to do it the next turn anymore, so it should be a free lane to win. Now, if the meta continues to evolve to being more War Machine, and if all you're seeing is War Machine mirror after War Machine mirror, you don't want to run Storm, because your opponent's going to be running Storm then, and you want to just take advantage of your War Machine while playing something more tempo-y on turn 3. But for the time being, until War Machine takes over the meta, which I'm not sure the speed it's going to happen, but I do believe that War Machine is going to be everywhere, Storm is a controversial card. Hope Summers offers a million plays. Hope Summers with War Machine can offer you a double turn 6 of Infinite and She-Hulk, or Dr. Doom and She-Hulk. You can also just Hope War Machine, immediately play Infinite, which is insanely strong. Immediately play Dr. Doom, but I guess you could do that anyway with a play on Hope. But Hope ends up being an absolutely super strong card here. Fundamentally, it is your backup War Machine for everything but Ebony Maw, more or less. It also feeds your Sunspot. Hope is a key card. War Machine is the key card, while Hope is a key card. War Machine for Infinite and Ebony Maw, and Storm is the list. That is what you would like to be doing. That is your goal. Being able to play big things under Goose is easy lane wins. Being able to play things into shut off Storm lanes is easy wins. Being able to drop Infinite without having to pass a turn is about as big as you can get. War Machine is huge. War Machine is incredible. Making this a 4/7, keeping it a 4/7 with the ongoing is quite the choice. This is an incredible card. Next up, we have Doom. This is the way you fill the board. Sometimes you're just going to need to get under a Goose and Storm and not have War Machine, and that's what Doom offers you. Doom plus She-Hulk to end the game as any old Doom Wave players. And remember, the creator of Doom Wave is the same W who made this list. As old Doom Wave player knows, Doom and She-Hulk is plenty powerful for the games where you can get that going. Also notable, if you go Psylocke on Hope Summers, you will have the ability to play a She-Hulk on turn 5, and then you can still do Doom on turn 6, and you're just feeding your Sunspot a little bit along the way. She-Hulk is the secret sauce here for War Machine decks. She's what gives you play when you don't have War Machine. Without her, this deck doesn't work, because without her, if you don't see War Machine, the deck completely collapses. Now, with her, the Psylocke play, the Hope Summers play, both give you play when you don't see War Machine. She also gets you under Goose as necessary. And Infinite is the biggest thing. This is a deck that can afford to pass turn 5 and still play Infinite another card on turn 6. If you end up playing 2 cards on Hope Summers on... No, you'd have, again, I keep saying that, but that's just not true. Sorry, I keep wanting to play 2 cards on Hope to go Ebony Maw and Infinite on turn 6 with She-Hulk, but you can't do that. Largely because without War Machine, you cannot play that Ebony Maw. But Infinite's the biggest thing, and you're happy to have the biggest thing in your deck. Now, let's go turn by turn. So, I think we're very close to a War Machine meta. I'm very nervous that we're in a Hela meta. I would much prefer a War Machine meta. Let's give it a day or two. I'll let you know which one we're in by Sunday when we have some more data. So turn 1 is Nebula over Sunspot as a general rule, unless you're sure you're doing the She-Hulk thing. Turn 2, Goose if you have War Machine. If not, you play one of the ones. Turn 3, you would very much like to Storm if you have War Machine, and Hope if not. Turn 4, War Machine is your priority. You can also play cards on Hope, and if I'm playing 2 cards on Hope, Goose and Psylocke are pretty good 2 cards. And then you can also play that War Machine on Hope. It's also a fine play to get extra energy right away. Turn 5 is either a 6 or a pass. And then turn 6 is Infinite or Doom with She-Hulk, and sometimes it's Infinite or Doom with Maw. And then you win, because that's, crazy strong. This list is awesome. I strongly, again, urge you to try it. This is where you want to be. This is what you want to be. I think this is the meta. If I had to hit Infinite tomorrow and I had to just pick a deck to do it, this would be the deck I pick. I think this has play into everything. It puts up enough power to beat anything. It is stellar. And after this next bit, we're going to check out Symbiote Bounce from the Great Husky Puppies, another top 10 players deck. That's right, we're killing it with these decks today. But one last look at W's War Machine. Again, absolute meta list. Get used to seeing this. You're going to see versions of this list all over the place for at least the next little bit. And we're featuring this not only because W is the best deck builder in the history of Marvel Snap, but because I kept getting messages from people absolutely cleaning up cubes with this list. So go check it out. If you'd like to see gameplay from this list, please check out the stream team. Tonight, the Pirate King himself, Tuccrr, will be streaming. If you'd like to check out Parry Manilow will have a video later in the day with some decks from yesterday's video. Tomorrow morning, FaThorNewman will be reviewing the week's decks, and then Sunday, the King of Canada will be streaming the decks from Sunday's video, because again, 7 days a week. All right, Husky's Bounce list. I've been waiting to cover this for a while. This is an extremely cool Symbiote Spider-Man list. Symbiote Spider-Man has several targets here. Turning the Hood into a 3-power card and getting a demon out of it's pretty solid. Being able to extra Falcon is sometimes game-breaking. Same thing for Nico. You can make a 20-power card with Nico relatively easily. And then Silver Sable as a extra trigger is incredible, right? That's 3, 5 plus 6 is 11 power. That's not even considering if you bounced it. Sometimes Rocket can be really good in the same way. Re-triggering Rocket when you know they're going to play in that lane is really strong. You don't usually want to hit Hawkeye. You're fine to hit Sage. That's how you do it. Yeah, we get the gist here. This list is, again, stellar at the top of the Infinite Leaderboard. This is a proven, incredible list. So you can find Husky at twitch.tv/HuskyPuppies35, and Husky offers the advice of, when you play this list, please do not be afraid to pass turns when nothing is happening. Turn replacements, Silver Sable and Nico can be Iceman, Spider-Ham, Hawkeye. Kate can be White Widow. There's not a really great other replacement for Kate Bishop, sorry. Sage can be Bishop, you lose a bit, but Bishop's still pretty damn good in this style list. Symbiote Spider-Man can be Wiccan or Gwenpool. Yes, it has to be a Series 5 card, sorry. Monkey, Werewolf, and Black Swan are needed cards. And reminder that Black Swan is about to become Activate and get better on Tuesday. So this has a 61% win rate in the top 10 of the Infinite Leaderboard, which again, anything that breaks 60% in the top 10 of the Infinite Leaderboard is something you absolutely want to pay attention to. That is a deck that is competing at the highest levels against the top players. Turn 1, you'd like to play Hood or Sable. Turn 2 is Kate, is better than 2 1s depending on your hand space. Turn 3, you'd like to play Werewolf. Like Werewolf is your key here, and that's better than your first bounce. And if your first bounce can be a 1 in Falcon, so much the better, because then you can symbiote that Falcon lane to re-Falcon. So turn 4, you'd like to symbiote. If not, you're playing some stuff out to just move around that Werewolf. Turn 5, you symbiote Activate for Falcon, Hood, Silver Sable, Rocket, and you either Swan or Beast. If you Beast, you have free cards to play with Hit Monkey. If you Swan, you have free cards to play with Hit Monkey. That's the goal here. And then turn 6 is everything plus Monkey. And if you don't have Monkey, everything plus Sage is fine. That's how you win. This list is incredibly strong. This is also our first weekend mission deck, because as you may have noticed, it has Symbiote Spider-Man, and Symbiote Spider-Man is going to be one of the weekend mission cards. I love Bounce. This is a great deck to learn Bounce with, because the play lines are, outside of the board space thing, the play lines are relatively straightforward. Please give this a try. I think this will both win you a lot of games and help you become a better Marvel Snap player. What more could you ask? All right, we're going to do one more Symbiote Spider-Man to go with the one that we just covered, and then we've got 2 more Madam Webs, one with a full guide. So, Symbiote Spider-Man has been a disappointment to me as a card. It is a fun card, but not a very good card. It's an okay extra card in a deck, but usually is fairly replaceable. The only place we've really found it needed is it's amazing in Phoenix Force and Nimrod style decks. Outside of that, it's a nice, and if you have Galactus, you really want this card. Outside of that, it's a nice little tool, but nothing really impressive. I'm surprised that they let their first Activate card be this bad. You should still buy it because the Season Pass is absolutely absurd value in terms of what it gives you in the game, but it's not as good as I want it to be. It's not as good as we expected it to be. Okay, I don't know how to put things in order. Yay, wrong order. We're going to do it this way. This is our Thursday for Darkhawk. I want to do a full guide on this, so we'll get to it relatively soon, but I don't want to leave you waiting for it because people need to try this. Symbiote Spider-Man has 3 amazing targets here. You can do Grandmaster to re-trigger Cassandra Nova or Rockslide, or you can just do Symbiote Spider-Man on Cassandra Nova or Rockslide for an awesome power spike. Re-Killmongering is an option, but not really a great one. Re-Korging as necessary is fine. You basically just put a bunch of rocks in their deck, Darkhawk, Mystique, Juggernaut, and then you win. That's it, right? Like, there's nothing super complicated here. Sometimes you won't see Darkhawk, and so you run Iron Lad. And that's fundamentally the gist of the list. It's really good. Grandmaster here is hilarious because, again, re-triggering Cassandra Nova, Korg, Rockslide is so strong. I strongly urge you to give this a try if you have access to it. This is a very good Symbiote Spider-Man list. It's a good mid-rangey card in decks that you would consider Grandmaster Absorbing Man stuff. Is Symbiote Spider-Man like enough better than Absorbing Man to be really like extra incredible in this list? No, but it is still very good. All right, let's talk some Madam Web. Madam Web is the card this week. I don't suggest you buy it right now. I can't. I want to because it's super fun. But I think Move still isn't meta, and I don't know if Aranya is going to make it meta. And in other decks, while it's very, very good, it's also very, very replaceable right now. It's very good in some sort of like junky list. We're going to look at one later, but it's not a requirement. One list I really like for it is Space's Smoke 'em If You Got 'em. Space is basically using it here just to readjust power in unexpected ways. It works well with Angela, it works well with Hope Summers. That's it here, right? Like having that extra power spike and not being able to be clogged is strong. Being able to play Man Thing wherever and then move the cheaper cards out of that lane, then you're just dealing with the Mana Webbler herself, is strong, right? Is she required for this list? Nah, right? Like, I'm not even 1,000% sure she's Thena, and she's better than Thena. And I so often have that thought with Madam Web that's why I can't recommend you buy her. Cool. However, my favorite current Madam Web list that is not just playing Move, because I'm fine just playing Move, is this weird list from my friend Philip Rakovich. I think this list is really good. Whenever he suggests a list and like strongly suggests it and I end up playing it, it works. Ratko is awesome, and he chills in the top 1,000 of the Infinite Leaderboard. This is basically saying, figure out what I'm doing with that Madam Web. Am I going to move my Void somewhere and then Sentry? And then Annihilus? Am I going to just Valkyrie it and make it a 3 and then I beat you? Am I going to use my Madam Web and my Dagger for a lane-winning amount of power? Etc., etc., etc. There's just so many ways to do completely busted things with this list. All right, so you've seen Ratko play if you've ever watched my shorts. I know you don't know it. Ratko edits the shorts and adds the gameplay, which is awesome. So he's just excellent at Marvel Snap. You need Ravonna for this list, but Madam Web can probably just be Ghost Spider. Kate can be White Widow. So the reason Kate not White Widow is you want junk and move, and Kate is both, while White Widow is just junk. Sage can be Wolfsbane, that's a major loss, and Annihilus can be Cersei, that also is a major loss, but not as big as you think. And part of me just wants Cersei anyway. I can't figure out what to cut. I've sat there and stared at this forever. Valkyrie is way too good right now. There's not a lot of ongoing power in the meta right now, so I really, really, really like having Valkyrie. But I also really, really, really want Cersei in the list. So I don't know how to do that. If you have any thoughts on that, do let me know. So what I'm going to ask everyone is, do you think Madam Web, those of you who own Madam Web, do you think she's worth it? Those of you who don't have Madam Web, like, do you regret buying her? And those of you who don't have Madam Web, despite my recommendation, are you still considering buying it? Cool. All right, turn by turn. So Sentry plus Madam Web is great. Turn 1, you Hood. Turn 2, you Ravonna, or Madam Web, right? Or you play Kate. Turn 3, ideally you've played Ravonna, and then you can play Madam Web and a Green Goblin. That'd be amazing. If you played Kate, sometimes you can Madam Web and Acid Hour, which is the same basic concept, and you're fine. Or you can just Viper on Hood. Turn 4, you would really like to Sentry. Turn 5, you'd really like to Annihilus, but you're fine playing Sentry here. Once in a blue moon, you'll Valkyrie if they drop something really, really big. And then turn 6, Valkyrie or Annihilus +1. Or you can play Sage in one lane to win 1, and then you can bounce Dagger either once or twice with Madam Web in order to make her huge and win a lane. That's how you play this list. It's really great. Like, it's also an excuse to play Valkyrie. Lauren, play this list, please, assuming you're seeing this video. This list is awesome. 8 questions of the day, then Patreon, then we out. So our first question is, Jenks, yes, the Spotlight key should be changed to 100% to give you an unknown card in Spotlight 4. That'd be nice, but why would they do that? So the 1,000 tokens is already really generous, and I know it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way because this is a system where you have to optimize it, and optimizing isn't a thing that feels good for most people. However, if you optimize, it's really generous, and enough people do optimize that they're not comfortable being more generous with the game in terms of how much they make off their card acquisition system. It's obnoxious, but that's where we are. It'd be really nice if they changed that, but my assumption is that the packs that they're sort of hinting at, that might come next Tuesday, who knows? The packs that are going to carry a new Series 5 card will also carry some extra goodies for players. Unite Support King says, is Arrow at 10 and nerf? Nope. It feels like it sometimes when it gets shonged right, but generally speaking, cards being moved from 9 to 10 as a buff. Every time they move a card from 9 to 10 or 10 to 9, the stats go up or down respectively, which suggests that players are just overreacting and hyperfixating on the negative of that buff, not the not accepting that the extra power is going to win them far more games. Greg is fun. As for my passions outside Marvel Snap, I've got a fairly simple life, right? So outside of Marvel Snap, things I do, I really, really like content creation. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like content creation as a whole is really fun. Hence the Pokemon channel. I spend a massive amount of time with my son, like tons of time with my son. Outside of that, like, and I love teaching. Teaching is like my heart, my whole world. Outside of my family, and one of my favorite things to do is once a month or so, I go to the bar and just unwind with some teacher friends. And outside of that, movies, travel with my wife. It's nothing fancy. I'm a very simple man. I wish I could read more, but literally, as I'm recording this, I could be writing essays, right? I could always be writing essays, the life of an English teacher. So I don't get to read much during the school year. I wish I could. Yeah, that's fundamentally my passions. I'm not super passionate about music. I follow but don't watch a lot of pro wrestling and basketball. So, okay, I follow but don't watch a lot of NJP, New Japan, and AEW. I don't like WWE, and the NBA. I don't actually watch any other basketball league. I like podcasts, right? Like I listen to a reasonable number of podcasts, and I like thought. I like read essays and think about life and so on. That's where I am. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I'm genuinely exhausted, so we're flying again. We're going to pretend this is a podcast, and I'm going to go fast. Thank you to Abigail Isla, Manager, Bernard Cables, Regardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I'm Frostman, Jane, Every, Corbin, Prime Brian, Ramber, Carriage Lee, Quarry, Black Dolly, Pyrofrost, The Goat Seeker, Diamond Falcon, Quip Dojo, Doc Phil, Fat Nick, Kerfuffle, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Brakovich, Aplo, Kenny Loggers, Ginger, Rob Silverman, The Biz, Extra Machine, Skippy G, Simon Eckes, Who Won Subjects, League Season 1, Finger Bros, Great Kazoo, Jessica Campbell, Ryan Wood, Woody, Kipsy Hoda, Ludacris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, Jim McHugh, Clam, 8 Sage, Mount Supreme Model, Dark Tater, Joe P, Brian Coffin, Justin H. Martin, Jason B, David Glenn, The Fuzzy Lawn, Spectrix, Who, Matt H, DJ Mike Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Oculars, Greg Sterry, Seamus, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Lorm Devs, The Parry King Tuccrr, The Home, and of course, got a T where the T stands for I'm going to sleep. Love y'all. Check out the video linked right below me. Hit that sub. Peace.